video is brought to you by Manscaped.com, the global brand for men's hygiene and grooming. What Manscaped offer you is essentially the perfect tools and formulas for the 3 odour zones: your body, your balls and your butt. And the guys at Manscaped kindly sent me the perfect package 4.0 for me to show you guys myself. The first thing you'll notice when you get your Manscaped parcel is the quality of the packaging, but for me it's what's inside which is really important. And for me personally, I was really impressed by the ball preserver and the ball reviver. Two things you don't really think about, but it's massively essential for the hygiene of your balls. But of course the main talking point about the perfect package 4.0 is the Lawnmower 4.0, Manscaped's 4th generation waterproof electric ball trimmer with advanced skin safe technology, which massively reduces the chances of cuts and nicks when shaving your private area. Basically, think of it like a choa for Mexico at every World Cup. The Lawnmower 4.0 saves your balls, it really does. It also has a super smart charging system with this little docking station. You just put your trimmer in, give it a second, the light will come on, and now your trimmer is charging. It really is as simple as that. And I think that's my favourite thing about the whole product. It's so small, so easy to use, it just makes the whole process of trimming your balls and looking after your male hygiene, it just makes it all so much easier. The people at Manscaped have actually even gone one step further, because now for a limited time you can get all of this plus 2 extra products for free, which includes this travel bag and also a pair of boxer briefs, which again, really comfortable, really recommend. All of this is available using the link in the description down below. Head to manscaped.com and use code AJAnalysis for 20% off your order and free postage, and again, those 2 free gifts. Make sure to use Manscaped in the description down below to get the right tools to save your family jewels. Hey guys, welcome back to the AJ Analysis channel, where today we are sort of taking a break from the World Cup, sort of not taking a break from the World Cup, sort of talking about Manchester United, sort of not talking about Manchester United. Basically, I want to talk about the Manchester United players that are at the World Cup and talk about how they're performing, some of the things that they're noticing, some of the things that they might bring back to Manchester United. And the purpose of this video is, one, I know that certain people are boycotting this year's World Cup for obvious reasons, so it's kind of a way to update those people on how the Manchester United players are performing. And then for those of you that are watching the World Cup, we can kind of look at it from a more tactical point of view and talk about it in that way, because there are a lot of Manchester United players, Rashford being one of them after last night's performance, that are performing quite well. So I want to go through a few of the different ones. One of them is Bruno Fernandes for Portugal. Now, certain players are going to get more coverage in this video than what others will, because they're getting different amount of game time, different level of impact on the game. Bruno Fernandes is quite an important player in the Portugal squad, and he's essentially playing on the right side of a 4-4-2 diamond like this, with Bernardo Silva at the peak here, and he's kind of as an 8, but he is also very much given the license to get forward and play as a 10, and often he is the widest point of the attack on the right hand side. Now, that is something that we have seen Bruno Fernandes doing before. We've seen him playing right wing in recent months for Manchester United with Antony out injured, and we know that he can do a job there. I think what we are seeing though is, yes, he's doing a good job in this right central spot. For me, every game he looks better when he's moving more central. And in terms of for something that maybe Manchester United can learn, he can do a job on the right side. He is very good there, and there are certain games where he's useful. I think centrally, he just brings a different level of creativity. We saw it in Portugal's first game where he moved more central, got wingers either side of him, and suddenly Portugal had runners, and it allowed Bruno Fernandes to play at his best. His creative best with runners around him, allowing him to find the passes, get himself the assists, and the numbers kind of back up these positive performances. This was his first game against Ghana, where we saw he won 100% of his aerial duels. He attempted 8 passes into the opposition's penalty area, 8 passes into the final third, 5 crosses, 5 duels won, 4 fouls won, 3 chances created, 2 big chances created, and 2 assists. So we can see that the impact he is having from this sort of right half space, and Portugal have really needed this for a long time now. Over the past maybe 16 years even, Portugal have been heavily reliant on former Manchester United man Cristiano Ronaldo to get the goals and the assists. When he hasn't, Portugal have had no one. Bruno Fernandes is giving them something different, and it is brilliant to see him playing so well. He has his question marks at Manchester United over decision making and things like that at times. For Portugal, he is playing really well at the moment, and hopefully that is something that he can bring back to Manchester United. The same can be said for Casemiro as well. Casemiro, for Brazil, for me at the moment, maybe one of the players of the tournament. He's never going to get it because of the type of footballer he is, but he's playing really well for Brazil. He is integral to the way that Brazil are playing. He's playing as a holding midfielder and giving those around him the license to get forward, and from this role he's just been absolutely brilliant. Now, against both Serbia and Switzerland, Brazil have dominated the ball, as we would expect, but the game plan from Serbia and Switzerland, the pair of them, has been to sit deep and then try and counter-attack, try and hit Brazil in transition where they are probably slightly weaker. What they found is when trying to do that, there is a Casemiro-shaped block in the way. Casemiro sweeping up behind the defence has been absolutely brilliant at the tournament so far. Just 2 games in, we haven't seen a third game yet, but his sweeping up behind the midfield has been absolutely brilliant, allowing Brazil to maintain pressure and momentum, moving the ball forward. But he's also contributing a lot on the ball as well. Passes through the lines, getting the ball moving forward in the first game into the feet of players like Neymar, in the second game into the feet of players like Lucas Paqueta, but also Vinicius Jr. And then also when Brazil have made certain tactical changes, he's been able to get a little bit further forward. Something that we saw him do for Real Madrid, something he has occasionally done for United, and it of course got him his goal from this sort of area with a kind of brilliant cut across outside the boot, across the laces finish into the far corner. Really, really good goal, and again, he's another player who the stats kind of back up his good performances so far. We can see he's averaging 69 touches per game. He's completing about 85% of his passes, 63% of his long passes, 46% of his chipped passes, which shows that he is trying to be inventive with the way that he's playing forward. But then crucially, those bottoms at the number there. Those numbers at the bottom there. Not those bottoms at the number there. Those numbers at the bottom there. 2.5 interceptions per game, 2 tackles per game, 0.5 possession won, 0.5 dribble pass per game, and 1 clearance per game. So yes, he is bringing a lot to Brazil on the ball, allowing them to get the ball moving forward, doing a brilliant job of that sort of thing. Crucially, he's doing the fundamental stuff of what he has been known as a player, doing that defensive work, winning the ball back for Brazil and getting them moving on the front foot and in the right direction. Now next up, the player you were probably expecting me to talk about in this video, Marcus Rashford, and that is of course because he got a brace against Wales last night and really inspired England to victory if you ask me. I thought he was one of their best players, carried a lot of attacking threat, a lot of direct running, a lot of good dribbling, but also I was impressed with the defensive work he was doing off the ball. Now, Rashford perhaps hasn't had a tournament to the level of Bruno Fernandes and Casemiro so far because those two are really key to their side at the moment. Rashford is playing a bit more of a substitute role. In the first game against Iran, he came on as a substitute. In the second game against USA, I believe he came on as a substitute. And then in this game, he started and he had a bit of a quiet first half. And actually what we've noticed for England is that his better football is actually coming on the right-hand side. Now for United, he nearly always plays better on the left. But on the right, England are using him as a bit of a runner, but also a ball carrier down this side, looking to get at tiring defenders, and he's doing a really, really good job of it. Like I said as well, what I'm liking is that we are also seeing him doing some defensive work. Particularly in that game against Wales last night, there were times where he was pressing, he wins the ball back for England's second goal, but there was also occasions when he was tracking Dan James, who we know is very quick, all the way back into defensive areas to put the tackle in and win the ball back for his side. Rashford, as we've been seeing over the past few months for Manchester United, is just a completely different player to what he was 12 months ago. He looks so much happier, he seems to be enjoying his football, and we're seeing the psychological effect on performance. Rashford is enjoying himself, he's happier off the pitch, that's transmitting into his performances, his confidence on the pitch, and a confident, free-flowing Marcus Rashford that is given the licence to run with and without the ball is quite frightening, and I think he's having a really good World Cup, and I think if England are to do well at this tournament and really go far, Rashford is going to be important. Watch out for him in the knockout stages. This could be where he comes to life. If we just stick with England for the moment, 2 other players that have been very good and that will be very important to any long-term success, Harry Maguire and Luke Shaw. Now, of course, Harry Maguire's kind of position in the squad in general, but especially in the starting 11, heavily scrutinised before the tournament. However, for me, one of the centre-backs of the tournament so far, particularly in that game against USA, he's just brilliant defensively. But I think what we're seeing is what he does on the ball. Now, is he great out of the press? Probably not. But a bit higher up the pitch when England are in sustained possession against both Iran and Wales, we see what he offers on the ball. Particularly in that Iran game, he was contributing stuff to this England team which other English players don't contribute. That ability to get the ball moving through the lines, but also the long passing as well, has been really impressive. He's had a really good start to the tournament, looking good at attacking set pieces as well. And of course, those key defensive set pieces. Maguire has had a good tournament so far. Hopefully this is a way for him to build his confidence, and he still probably isn't fully match sharp, so hopefully he can keep growing if England are to go far, keep growing into the tournament. A man who certainly is match fit, Luke Shaw at left back, who remains one of England's most important players. For me, one of the best left backs in the world at the moment, arguably the best. I'm not going to fully commit to that in case I'm missing someone, but he is right up there. He's absolutely brilliant. His role for England is a little bit mixed, but when we have seen Rashford on the left-hand side in the first half of the game against Wales, it was good to see those two linking up. Shaw's quality on the ball at the moment is just absolutely brilliant. Some of his deliveries into the box, but also some of his set pieces have been dangerous as well. Looking for his friend there, Harry Maguire. If England are going to do well this tournament, Luke Shaw is going to be a big part of that, and I also agree for Manchester United. If Manchester United are going to continue to grow, Luke Shaw will be a big part of that because technically on the ball, he is so sound and so underrated. So far, having a good World Cup, let's hope that continues for him. In terms of the other left-backs that Manchester United have at the tournament, we have Malacia, who is of course back up at Manchester United at the moment, and then Telles, who is out on loan. Now, unfortunately for these two, they're not getting too much football at the moment. Malacia literally hasn't seen a minute, which is a little bit disappointing for him. I think he could do a job as a wing-back in their system over Daley Blind, but at the moment that isn't happening, so a little bit disappointing for Tyrell Malacia. We will see if anything changes there. And then Telles, he's played 10 minutes in Brazil's second game when they were just trying to see the game out. Although there is a fitness concern there, so there is a chance that Telles will start the third game. Again, when this is being uploaded, we haven't seen that third game yet, so maybe Telles will come into the team. But in terms of the left-back department, Luke Shaw at the moment is the one really performing well. The other two are struggling for minutes. A player who clearly isn't struggling for minutes in the Denmark side is Christian Eriksen. Now, we all know when we talk about Denmark, Christian Eriksen is their leader. He's one of their most important players. He may not always wear the armband, but he's kind of a talisman for the team. He leads that team from the middle of the park. We've seen him playing as a 10 in an attacking midfielder role, but also slightly deeper in more of a double pivot in a 3-4-3. In terms of his tournament so far, I don't think we are seeing the best of him. I don't think Denmark are particularly free-flowing at the moment. I don't think they are playing particularly well, and that's kind of affecting Eriksen. It's affecting the amount of time he's able to get on the ball, but also the amount of touches. He is still showing his creativity. We are still seeing those glimpses with crosses into the box in areas like this, or floated passes, or cute passes between the lines. We are still seeing it to an extent, but I think there's more to come from Christian Eriksen. He will be hoping for a positive last game in the group to hope that Denmark can get through to the knockouts. Will that happen? We'll have to wait and see. In terms of Manchester United fans, Eriksen is doing well, he's doing okay, but I think there's more to come from him. I certainly hope so. Another player that Manchester United fans will be interested in is Facundo Pellistri, who has been kind of featuring on the right wing for Uruguay so far at the tournament. Now, Facundo is actually yet to make his first start for Manchester United. However, he started the first game of the tournament for Uruguay, and then played a decent role off the bench the other night against Portugal. And Pellistri is a player we don't know a ton about, simply because, like I said, we haven't really seen him for United yet. But what I'm enjoying is his directness on the ball. He's getting the ball in these areas, often used as a bit of an isolation winger on the right-hand side. Uruguay switch the ball out towards him. He gets that first touch under, gets it under control, and then looks to attack his fullback. And he looks quite dangerous. We're often seeing him being doubled up on at times because defenders are struggling to deal with him. The only thing I've been a little bit disappointed with is his final delivery. That's something that needs work, but you could say that for Uruguay in general. I don't think they're too impressive. He's also doing a good job defensively going the other way as well. Even had a bit of a stint at wing-back. So Pellistri's having a good tournament so far. He'll be hoping that he can make an even bigger impact in the final game of the group. Speaking of the final game of the group and players wanting to make an impact, next up we have Lisandro Martinez, whose involvement in the Argentina team has been mixed so far. Now, he didn't start the first game, but he did come on quite late on, and immediately Argentina looked better. And then he started the second game, and from a defensive point of view, Argentina's level went up massively, but also their ability to progress the ball through the lines. We all know, as Manchester United fans, how good Lisandro Martinez is. Argentina don't seem to see that at the moment. There are talks that he will be dropped for the third game of the group, which to me seems like a bit of a weird decision, unless he has a knock. Maybe the manager has a knock to the head to drop Lisandro Martinez. We all know how good he is. At the moment, he isn't really getting the game time for Argentina. Is that going to change? I'm not sure. But maybe from Manchester United's point of view, it might be a good thing to give him a bit of a rest. And the same can be said for Rafael Varane as well, the other centre-back. Now, Varane, again, is a player who's kind of been in and out of the team. Started the first game, but then got dropped for the second game, although rested, I think. Although he did eventually get on. I think this is just a case of France managing his minutes. Now, in terms of performance levels, France have not been tested from a defensive point of view yet. They've been very comfortable in both of their games. So there's not really too much to report on here. He's done his job pretty well. But I think he's just being eased into the team, eased back into fitness, because we know that he has missed a lot of football. Another player who has missed a lot of club football recently is Antony. However, for Brazil, he does seem to have been available, and to me, he seems really sharp. He has been starting matches on the bench behind Rafinha. However, for me, every time he comes on, he is massively overperforming compared to the standard that Rafinha has been setting. Now, Rafinha is a player I'm a big fan of, but every time Antony comes onto the pitch, he just seems to take it to another level. So, I would really like to see him brought into the team for the third game. At the moment, he'll probably be a little bit disappointed with his game time, but I think Brazil are going to go deep in this competition, and if they are to do that, they will need squad depth. And who knows, Antony could be the player that kind of provides a bit of magic from the bench. I also really think he deserves a spot in the first team, so maybe we see him coming into the team. The same with Fred as well. He was left out of the first game, however came in for the second game with Neymar out injured. Obviously, Fred isn't Neymar, not quite the same sort of player, so there is a drop-off in Brazil's performance when Fred plays. However, I think he's doing a pretty good job. We know that he isn't technically the cleanest on the ball, however that workman-like nature in the middle of the pitch does help Brazil from a defensive point of view, and it's been quite good to see him alongside Casemiro, although actually they've often been this way around, which again is quite interesting to see. At Manchester United we would expect it to be the other way around. It's good to see the duo playing together. In terms of, for Brazil, they probably don't want Fred in the team, but as a Manchester United fan, it is good to see Casemiro and Fred continuing to build that understanding. We know they've played alongside each other a lot for Brazil in the past, but it is good to see them alongside each other, and it is actually great to see so many Manchester United players playing for that Brazil team. It really is good to see. And then the last two players on the list, Diogo Dalot and Hannibal Mejbri, who are both massively struggling for game time. Diogo Dalot hasn't got a minute yet, obviously below Cancelo in the pecking order, although perhaps there's room for rotation in Portugal's third game of the group, we will see. As for Mejbri, I just think there's a lack of trust in his mentality and his discipline, I think is what the main issue there is. Technically, he's clearly a very good footballer, but I think there are some mental issues that probably need to be addressed at some point. We saw him kind of getting involved a bit, even when he was on the bench the other day. I'm not too surprised that he hasn't played, although he might come in for their third game, which by now I think has been played by the time this is uploaded. So if he did play, let me know what you think. But yeah, that is it. That is all 14 players that Manchester United have at this competition. We've covered them, we've given them a bit of a breakdown. I've told you some of the things that Bruno Fernandes is doing well, some of the things Casemiro is doing well, how great it is to see Rashford back and performing, and then also some of these other players that aren't playing quite as much. Overall, a lot of Ten Hag's men are having a really good tournament. Other ones are getting a decent amount of rest, which is quite good to see because it is a busy season. So if you're being selfish as a Manchester United fan, you almost don't mind seeing some of these players rested, especially someone like Varane. But yeah, I just thought I'd give you guys an update because some of you aren't watching the tournament, some of you are but aren't watching every team. So this was just a way to talk about Manchester United still at this World Cup and just give an update on where some of the players are at, how they're performing. Most of them are doing pretty well. That's all I've got to say for today's video. Thank you guys for watching. I hope you have enjoyed it and I'll see you in the next one.